State's next witness.
Your Honor, State next calls Lillian Chrestensen.
Lillian Chrestensen, please. Good afternoon, ma'am. If you'll come forward for me, please. And right here, if you'll raise your right hand, the clerk will administer the oath.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
All right, ma'am, thank you. If you'll come right around here and have a seat for me, please. And if you'll scoot yourself up and speak directly into that microphone and speak up loudly so everybody can hear you, all right?
All right.
Thank you very much. Ms. Wolfson?
Good afternoon, ma'am. Could you please state and spell your name for the record?
Lillian Chrestensen, Lillian Lillian, Chrestensen Chrestensen.
Now, Ms. Chrestensen, do you live here in Jacksonville?
Yes, I do.
And are you currently employed?
Yes, I am.
Where do you currently work?
With a Quick Trip Texaco.
What do you do for Texaco?
I work in a convenience store
How long have you worked for Texaco?
since October
Was that of 2013?
of 2013, yes.
Now, Ms. Chrestensen, where did you work prior to your current job at Texaco?
Gate Petroleum,
How long did you work for Gate Petroleum?
16 years.
Ms. Chrestensen, what was your position within Gate Petroleum?
Assistant manager.
Now, prior to leaving Gate Petroleum, did you work at a particular store?
Prior to working for Gate,
Oops, strike that. Prior to leaving Gate, which store were you working at?
at the time I left, I was working on Bay Meadows Road.
Now, Ms. Chrestensen, I'd like to turn your attention to November 23rd of 2012. Were you working that day?
Yes, I was.
Now, which store were you working at that day?
I was working at the store located at the corner of Southside Boulevard and Bay Meadows.
And what was your position at that particular store?
Assistant manager.
Could you explain to the jury what your duties entailed being an assistant manager?
Overseeing operations, making sure that things run smoothly.
Now, back on November 23rd of 2012, what hours were you working?
1 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Who else was working with you that day?
Mariah Grimes and Darion Aites.
Ms. Chrestensen, while you were working that day, did you work at a particular register?
I worked at Register 2.
And is it fair to say that when you walk into the Gate store, then Register 2 would be straight ahead?
Yes.
Okay, with Register 1 to your right, Register 3 to the left?
If you were walking into the store, Register 1 would be on your right and 3 would be on your left.
Now, Ms. Chrestensen, can you explain to the jury what the layout is of the gas station in terms of whether or not there's a back office, if there's a back hallway, a bathroom, things of that nature?
If you were coming into the store, the first thing you would see would be the register area. Off to your right, the coffee area. Towards the back, you'd see a hallway where the restrooms would lead off to the right. You could see an emergency exit straight to the back. To the right of the emergency exit would be an office door, and to the left would be a door to the back room.
Now, Ms. Chrestensen, what happens in the back room? What is the back room used for?
There's the entrance to the cooler, there's a storage area, and there's a 3-part sink for washing.
During your shifts then when you're working at the gas station, do you typically have to go into that back room and into the office since you are the assistant manager?
Yes.
Now, at some point during your shift, Ms. Chrestensen, did something unusual happen?
Yes.
What happened?
I heard gunshots.
And where were you when you first heard those gunshots?
I was in the back room,
What were you doing in the back room?
washing coffee carafes.
Do you remember how many gunshots you heard while you were in that back room?
I believe initially I heard 3 shots.
And from where you were, could you tell whether or not they were happening inside the store?
No, I wasn't sure at first.
Are there windows in that back room that let you see out into the store?
No, there is not.
What did you do after you heard the first set of gunshots?
I stopped what I was doing and started slowly moving out towards the hall area.
And why did you do that?
To try to start finding out what was happening, try to assess what the situation was.
Ms. Christensen, as you were coming out into that back hallway, did you hear more gunshots?
Yes, I did.
How many more gunshots did you hear at that point in time?
3 to 4.
From where you were when you heard that second set of gunshots, could you see the registers and out to the front of the store?
If I were looking in that direction, I would have been able to. I was not looking in that direction.
Could you tell at that point where the second set of gunshots was coming from?
I believed it to be more outside than inside.
And what made you think that?
It seemed more muffled than to be inside.
After hearing the second round of gunshots, did you then keep walking out front?
Yes, I did.
And were you heading towards the registers?
Yes, I was.
Now, prior to getting to the registers, did you hear any more gunshots?
Yes, I did.
How many more gunshots did you hear?
I believe it was 3 to 4.
After hearing the last round of gunshots, Ms. Christensen, where did you go?
At that time, I was right at the end of the hallway in an open area between the hallway and the register area. I stopped at that point.
What was the atmosphere like inside the store at that point in time?
It was quiet inside the store. But I could hear Mariah Grimes saying, "He's shooting at them."
Sustain. Please don't say what other folks might have said. Yeah.
Ms. Christensen, at some point, did you approach Mariah Grimes and get up to where she was?
Yes, I did.
What was her demeanor like?
She was very excited.
Was she panicked?
Yes.
Did you also then get up to where Darian Yates was?
Yes.
And what was Mr. Yates like?
Stunned.
Now, Ms. Christensen, when you walked up near the registers, did you notice whether or not there was a customer in front of Mariah Grimes' register?
Before I reached that area, yes, I saw a customer standing near register 3.
And can you describe her for the jury?
Caucasian, dark hair. She was wearing what appeared to be a black skirt suit.
And Ms. Christensen, after hearing those gunshots, did you then see that same woman walk out the front door of the store?
I saw her walking towards the doors.
And did you say anything to her as she was walking towards the front doors?
I said, "Oh, hon, please don't go out there."
Did she listen to you?
No.
How would you describe that woman's demeanor as she was walking to the front doors?
Unsure.
Could you tell from where you were where she went when she walked out the front doors?
Yes, I could see that she was walking towards a car parked in front of the store.
Now, Ms. Christensen, do you know exactly where that car was parked?
It was parked in the first parking place next to the entrance of the store.
Could you see where that woman went?
I saw her get into the vehicle.
From where you were, could you see if anyone else was inside the car?
Once I had moved at register 3, I could make out a image of a male behind the wheel of the car.
Okay, so in the driver's seat?
Yes.
Now, as you were looking out the window, Ms. Christensen, did you see whether or not that car left?
I'm sorry?
Could you see from where you were whether or not that vehicle that she had just gotten into, whether or not it left?
Yes, it did leave.
Okay, and how did that car leave?
Calmly.
Did you see the direction in which it went?
Yes.
And which direction did that car leave in?
Headed towards Southside Boulevard.
After you saw that car leave, did you then speak with your employees about what had happened?
Not that I recall.
Do you remember Ms. Christensen making a 911 call?
Yes.
Okay. And when was it that you made the 911 call?
There was someone in the store that said they had the tag number, and I wrote that down and made the 911 call after that.
Permission to publish you under the 911 call?
Yes, ma'am.
Just for the record, that states Exhibit 167.
Judge, if it hasn't been admitted, you don't have an objection, but I think it was.
It was admitted. It's
Okay.
Exhibit 167.
Jacksonville 911 Gaines.
My name is Lillian Chrestensen, Assistant Manager at Gate Store 1187, located at 8251 Southside Boulevard. We had shots fired in the parking lot. The person firing has left, but we did get a license number.
Okay.
The license number is 937, V as in Victor, M as in Mason, V as in Victor.
Okay. And what did you see the color, make, and model of that car?
It was a dark car. It appeared to be black. I couldn't tell the make or model. I'm sorry.
And was the person inside of the?
The person was there was a person here inside the store attempting to make a purchase.
Okay.
The person in the that was driving the vehicle was the one shooting out of the vehicle at somebody else, but we don't know what happened. Right. Oh, here's a police officer right here, sir. Okay, there's an officer here. Thank
All right.
you.
No problem. Jacksonville 911 Gaines.
My name.
Now, Ms. Christensen, in that call, you can hear that an officer comes into the store.
Yes.
When that officer came into the store, did you give him the tag number that you had?
Yes, I did.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
And for the record, I'm showing you as previous evidence, as Exhibit 170. Is this, Ms. Christensen, the tag that you handed over to the officer?
Yes.
Now, Ms. Christensen, does the Gate gas station have surveillance?
Yes, it does.
And as the assistant manager, do you know whether or not there is exterior surveillance footage at that particular Gate gas station?
We did not have exterior.
Okay. When police arrived on scene, did you aid them and help them with their investigation?
I did what I could.
Okay. And did that include then giving them a disc of the surveillance footage that you did have?
Yes, it did.
I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
No further questions, Your Honor, at this time.
Mr. Stroller Cross?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Christensen. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Now, in relation to that DVD, you made a copy of the store surveillance for the officer that night, correct?
Yes, I did.
And matter of fact, you were proactive. You took it on your own to make them a copy without them even asking you, correct?
I asked them if they wanted me to, yes.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You approached the detectives and said, would you like me to make you a copy?
Yes, I did.
Right. So they were on scene but never asked for one.
They had not at that point.
Right. And isn't it also true that they gave you the timeline? They told you, we want you to start when the woman walked in and then when the woman leaves, correct?
I was playing the video back. An officer told me when to start, when to stop.
And then you burned them a copy, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And that was for about that period of time. Do you recall that's when it was from, is when the woman walked in and the woman left?
I don't recall exactly.
Is it possible?
Yes.
Okay. And if they didn't ask you, hey, give us an hour afterwards when all those witnesses were inside the store, correct?
No, they didn't.
Okay. And if they did, you would have given them that video, correct?
Absolutely.
And you would recall that they wanted an hour of all the witnesses inside the store, if that's true, correct?
Yes.
Now, you don't recall the number of shots that were fired. You just remember being in the back and hearing shots coming out, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I think last time we talked, you had grown up or you knew how gunfire was. You knew it was gunfire, correct?
Yes, I did.
All right. When you came out, when you come down that hallway, cash register 3 is off to your right, correct?
Yes, it is.
It's behind the cigarettes and everything there?
Yes.
So you couldn't see Mariah Grimes until you came around, I guess register 1 is what they call it? There's that little opening to walk in?
No, actually, from where I was standing in the hall, in that open area, yes, I could see register 3.
But could you see Mariah Grimes? Was she still ducking down or was she standing?
I wasn't focused on her. I was actually focused on the woman.
Right. And then the woman walked outside, correct?
Yes, at later point she did, yes.
She had no fear or hesitation. Even you told her don't go out there.
She had no hesitation.
And that was even after you said don't go out there.
Right.
Now, when the witnesses were inside the store, the officers never physically separated people, correct? They just said don't talk about it?
That's correct.
And officers were going in and out. Is that true?
Yes.
Matter of fact, at one point, I believe you had the door locked because they had asked you to lock the door so nobody could come in and out.
Yes.
Okay. And then an officer tried to get back in and got upset with you because the door was locked. Do you recall that?
I don't recall that, no.
Okay. Do you recall locking the door?
I do recall locking the door.
And do you recall no officers being inside when you locked that door?
No, I don't recall whether there was an officer inside at that point or not.
Is it possible? You just don't have the recollection of it?
It's possible.
Okay. And obviously this was a traumatic event for you?
Yes, it was.
How many copies of that video did you get officers that night?
I only recall one,
Okay. Did they ever come back and ask you for any other video?
not me personally.
Okay. Did they ever come back and ask you for any extended video of the audio that was being recorded inside the Gate gas station?
Not me personally.
Are you aware of one being made?
I believe that the manager was asked to make another disc.
And that was Barry Friedman?
Yes.
Okay. And he was the manager over you when you worked there?
Yes.
Okay. And would you agree that even when officers were there and everything that was going on, would you agree that it was kind of organized chaos going
Yes.
on at the gas station?
Yes.
Is that a fair and accurate representation?
That is how I would describe it, yes.
I'm not putting any words in your mouth.
Not this time.
Okay. Now, you heard your 911 call, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you had talked about you had the license. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Excuse me.
Okay. I believe the state showed you this exhibit. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And how do you recognize this?
That's my handwriting, and that appears to be one of the bags that we kept at the store.
Okay, so that's your handwriting.
Yes, it is.
Are you positive?
Yes, I am.
And that's a bag from inside the store.
That's where it would have come from, yes.
And I'm not putting words in your mouth.
Again, not this time.
Okay. At any time so far have I put words in your mouth, Ms. Chrestensen?
Today, no.
Okay. Anything we've talked about?
Not today.
Okay. So far we're doing okay.
So far.
Okay. And is it fair to say that when you talked to officers that night, you told them everything that you heard, saw, and did?
To the best of my ability.
And you indicated, correct me if I'm wrong, that the car that you believe the gunfire came from backed out and left, your word was calmly?
Yes,
Didn't squeal its tires, didn't take off anything
did
like that?
not.
Okay. Did you ever see a car do that? Did you ever have a chance to see a red Durango squeal its tires and take off?
A red Durango?
Yes, ma'am.
Not that I recall.
Okay. And did you ever see a red Durango come back on scene?
I wasn't aware of a red Durango.
Okay. Even as we sit here today, you have no knowledge, personal knowledge, that you ever saw one come or go?
That point in time, I had no focus on a red Durango, no.
And you were familiar, obviously, with recording those DVDs. You were the assistant manager for a pretty lengthy time at Gate, correct?
Right?
And then you knew what you were doing, you knew how to record it, is that correct?
No.
You
I
did not
actually-
know how to?
It'd been so long since I had done it, I actually had, I believe, called the supervisor to get him to refresh my memory on how it was done.
So when you recorded it that night, it was actually coming from a Gate supervisor telling you how to do it
How to bring up the system to do it, yes.
and then record it?
Right.
Okay. And you took that DVD and you gave it to an officer?
Yes.
Do you remember who you gave it to?
I don't remember which officer it was, no.
Is it the same officer you went up to and asked if they would like a copy of it?
No, it wasn't.
How did you get into a different officer, if you recall?
It was just a different officer, I believe, that came into the office while I was in there.
Okay, so you had approached an officer outside,
Yes,
go inside, call your supervisor how to do it,
yes,
and then you give it to another officer.
yes.
And then after that, you've never made another copy, correct?
Not to my knowledge.
Well, I'm asking about you, nobody else.
I only, to my recollection, I only burned one CD that night.
Okay, and that was just based on when the officer was over there watching you saying, okay, start it there, stop it there. Is that fair?
That's fair, yes.
Okay, nothing further. Thank you, Ms. Christensen.
Anything further from the state?
No, Your Honor.
May she be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Stroller?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, ma'am. We appreciate you being here. You're excused. Can I see counsel at the side bar for a minute?